Hey YouTube, Alex here, and in today's video I want to answer the question, how does minimalism go hand in hand with long-term travel? And by minimalism, I mean the idea of purchasing fewer luxuries, living on less, basically, in my mind, seeking experiences over physical goods, over material things. And I think that it can go hand in hand with long-term travel. And these are some reasons why I think it can really go hand in hand with the idea of traveling for an extended period of time. So before I get into today's video, definitely do me a favor, thumbs up, subscribe, comment, you know the drill. So the first thing I'll mention here, you can't carry a lot. So in my mind, when I'm traveling for a long period of time, I imagine I'm going to have a maximum of 2 backpacks, but really one backpack is ideal, and perhaps having a smaller day pack that you put in that larger backpack for when you are in your destination. Really, carrying more than one backpack, the fees start to add up for checking baggage. You end up being an easier target for perhaps theft. If you're only trying to keep up with 2 bags, you're used to only walking around with 1 bag, and then you forget a bag and you lost a bunch of stuff. And trust me, this is the first time I've traveled with 2 bags in a long time, and I really wish I had somehow figured a way to get it down to 1 bag. Of course, moving forward, considering the camera gear I'll be traveling with, then I'll probably need a larger backpack. Maybe I'll end up traveling with 2 backpacks. So we'll see if I can figure out a way to really condense my packing. But even with all of that, I don't go clothing shopping very much. I buy what I need clothing wise, but I'm not buying a dozen pair of shoes on my long-term travel trips. I'm not replacing all of my electronics on a long-term trip. I'm not purchasing a television. There's nowhere for me to put a television. I'm not purchasing furniture. There's nowhere for me to put furniture. So it's really nice to be able to go out. You feel kind of free and thinking, I can't purchase any of this stuff half the time because there's nowhere for me to put it. And so if you do feel, if you're someone that does sometimes feel pressured in sales situations, you can honestly tell them, hey, I'm browsing, but realistically speaking, there's nowhere for me to put this. So I can't take it with me. And that can really be a nice thing when you're thinking, I notice I buy a lot of stuff. How can I cut back on buying so much stuff? For me, traveling for a long period of time guarantees that I'm not going to be buying much of anything to take home except for some consumables. I might purchase some local candy or some local snacks that are legal through customs and all that. Of course, it varies, but I might purchase different kinds of local soaps and things like that, but nothing major and nothing that's not going to eventually go away. So eventually the soap will run out. I really like the fruit shaped soaps from Thailand, and also the mango candy. These things, they run out, and so they're not taking a bunch of space in my car, my home. So that's really nice. The next thing I'm going to mention here, you tend to live more for experiences and physical belongings. I mentioned that before a little bit, but I find that because I'm spending much less time trying to figure out what kinds of things I want to buy to attempt to cure boredom, to be honest, I'm looking for experiences to fill my time. I'm thinking, okay, so I need to do X amount of work every week on my classes as far as programming and physics right now, but aside from that, what do I want to do? And so the days that I do have free, or the times that I do have free, I can really enjoy my meal, or I can explore a new neighborhood, different part of town. Perhaps I can go work out, and these things are much more fulfilling and rewarding than, oh, well, it's time to go on Amazon and see what kind of thing I can buy because I just got paid or something like that. Nothing wrong with buying on Amazon. I love Amazon. It's really convenient, but there's definitely things I bought on there I didn't need to buy. And I think most of us have had that experience where if we weren't in the shopping mindset and it wasn't really part of our day-to-day, then we'd probably buy a lot less stuff. I know for a fact I plan out my purchases a lot more when I'm traveling abroad because not just the logistics of getting the item and perhaps paying more than I'd pay back in the States, but also now I've got to carry this thing potentially for months. And so that's definitely worth considering. The next thing that I'll say about that is that eventually when you are older, I've known some older people that have this problem. You've accumulated a bunch of stuff that you can't really enjoy. You don't really use on a day-to-day basis. You feel like perhaps your home is a museum in a bit of a way. And I don't want to be disrespectful or down talk people that have accumulated really sentimental heirlooms. But not every single thing is equally important to a person. I know everybody has to determine what is and isn't important, but everyone I've known with a ton of stuff from over the years, at least some of it they could have gotten rid of, but they didn't. And in my mind, these memories will be really valuable. And also the videos. The videos to me serve as one of the biggest mementos of all, because I can see myself and I can see the place I went to and I remember these things. And there's digital backups of everything, so it's not like it can be destroyed or stolen or anything like that. And yeah, so it's really nice to have these experiences and have this collection of experiences. I'm a really big fan of Jesse Itzler. He wrote Living with a Seal, and he was one of the first people to really get David Goggins out there. He came up with this idea that he was at a race and he saw David racing. He was doing it tag team style, where he and 4 or 5 friends were doing a lap, and then next guy, that lap, next guy, or so on and so forth. And Goggins was doing the whole thing on his own. So eventually he got to talking to David and basically said, "Hey, I want to hire you to come live with me, my family. I feel like you're a really tough guy and I could learn something from it." And then eventually David started getting interviews and because of the book, and a lot of people know who Goggins is now, like him or hate him. He's quite a well-known speaker and a veteran. So that's kind of so I mentioned Jesse Itzler just because I did a course with him, and he mentioned that he feels like having a collection of really good experiences is part of what has led to his success and his fulfillment in life. And so he's somebody who is a partial owner of the Atlanta Hawks. He also has sold the beverage to Coca-Cola, sold the company to Warren Buffett, and has attained quite a bit of success from the perspective of a lot of people. And so when he does talk about the value of experiences, I think that it's really worthwhile to consider that when you are traveling long-term, you're opened up to a lot of different experiences that wouldn't be possible in your home country. And there's really too many to name, but you can probably think of some things that, depending on where you live, you just can't do where you live. For me, coming from the Midwest, there's simply very hard to access beaches and oceans and that kind of thing. Generally, it's going to be a half a day trip in the car or an airplane flight. But if you do move to an area or spend a month, 2-3 months in an area near a beach, you can have much more easy access to a beach and have that kind of lifestyle that you're looking for. So that's something that you can't buy on Amazon. You can't buy that beach experience, and that's something to consider. The next thing I'll mention here is that you don't have to organize to keep up with a ton of possessions. I've bought way too much dumb stuff over the years, and also have stuff related to past businesses. And I have to pay for storage fees for this. And part of it's really sentimental stuff that belongs to deceased family members, that things that I'll never get rid of. But even if I went beyond that and, let's say, purchased a house somewhere and moved all those things, now I've got to pay and organize. I've got to organize the home to my standards, organize the garage, the living room. I've got to pay the utilities. If I'm living in a region with a lot of rain, I've got to pay for the lawn mowing service on a regular basis, or purchase a lawnmower, maintain a lawnmower. If I'm in an area with perhaps some concern about crime, depending on the area, it may mean that I need to purchase a security system, and then I've got to purchase perhaps I want to get a dog as added security, and then I'm taking care of a dog, and it just gets to be one thing after another. Same thing with having a nice car. When you have a really, really nice car, it's not just having the nice car, it's you want to have the car washed, and you want to have it detailed, and you want to make sure you're doing all the necessary maintenance, the oil change, tire rotation, tire balance, and all these things are more frequent and more necessary when you are using these things all the time. And when I have the opportunity, I'd love to sell my car and just do Uber. If I'm traveling long term, 1, 2, 3 years in several different countries, what's the point of me owning a car back in the United States? I'm just paying insurance and this upkeep hassle just to say I have a car in the US when I'm not using it. And these are things that are really worthwhile to consider. If you don't like the idea of having to maintain all these possessions, it really is worthwhile to consider long-term travel. You could end up in a situation where all you have to pay for is a storage unit instead of having to pay a big rental fee or a big mortgage fee, perhaps all these upkeep and maintenance costs. You just come back and you visit with friends and family once or twice a year, whatever your preference is. But you're not having to deal with all of these day-to-day headaches that are so time-consuming. One thing that has really surprised me from not having to deal with this stuff near to the same extent that a lot of other people have is how much time it frees up in my day-to-day. I was living in a house in the Midwest for a couple of years, and it was like every single week or every single month there was things that came up that the owner of the home had to handle, and it costs a lot of money and time and hassle. And I understand there's a lot of benefits to these things. I don't want to down talk anybody that feels that these are requisites for them, and I'd love to have my own home one day, but it's definitely worth considering the downsides. So and more so than downsides, the upsides of minimalism, the things I really enjoy about this kind of lifestyle, the benefits that I get out of not going for things as much. The next thing I'll mention here, you learn to appreciate what you have. You take better care of what you have. So I've found since incorporating more long-term travel into my lifestyle, I tend to make things last a longer time. So before I would tend to be kind of hard on my electronics, but I've noticed now it's like, okay, I got to take care of these headphones. I don't want to have to buy these headphones here when they're going to cost more than they would in my home country. I'm not getting any kind of deal like I did on these. It was like a Black Friday deal or something like that. And I'm not going to have the warranty. If it's a faulty pair, it's going to be really hard for me to return it. Some countries don't even have return policies like that. Maybe the warranty is really confusing. And so same thing with my computer and my other devices that I travel with. I do my best to take care of them because I know it's going to be more hassle to replace them, more expensive. I worry I might buy the foreign version that comes in with totally different setting, different keyboard, these kinds of things. And I appreciate my things more. I'm really glad that my devices work well and that I've tested them all out in the US. That's something else too, is when you're using devices that you're familiar with, you're not going to be as thrown off if you get some kind of glitch or error, and you're more familiar than if you're oh, I'm in a new country, I need to buy a new this, or I'm in a new country, I need to buy a new that. You know what you have, and it's really a good feeling to be grateful for what you have, because one of the things I really like about gratitude and expressing gratitude, and I think that's a central in my mind component to this minimalism idea that's intertwined with long-term travel, is that I'm really thankful to have this really nice screen. Some of the technology that I can get in the US is really, really nice abroad compared to what 99% of locals have, and not what 99% of what's going to be found in hotels. I brought a small computer without a screen down, thinking I'd be able to plug into TVs down here, and I don't want to down talk the professionals here or the people that have different kinds of places here, but the screens that are on my devices that are built into the devices I brought down are much, much more clear and higher resolution than what I'm going to be able to find here. And it doesn't make any sense in my mind to purchase a TV or a screen just to put in here. So that's just something I wanted to mention here. These are some things that I think are really helpful when it comes to the advantages of minimalism and how minimalism can go hand in hand with long-term travel. We talked about how you're not going to be able to carry a lot. You're going to ideally go for experiences over physical belongings. You're not going to look at it as a shopping trip, but more so an opportunity to try different things in these countries and cities and places you haven't been before. And even go back and do things that you didn't get a chance to do on your first visit. Some other things we talked about, you're not going to have to deal with the organization of having tons and tons of stuff like you would if you were trying to accumulate stuff, like is kind of the standard way of doing things, at least in the United States. And the last couple of points, you learn to appreciate what you have. One final point I'm going to mention here that I didn't touch on before, but you don't have much that can be stolen. If you're not having tons of high-end clothes and tons of other things. I keep all my valuables in one bag, and if somebody takes my bag without valuables, there's hardly anything in there that I can't replace for a very small amount of money. And even if they steal my bigger bag of valuables, it's not like they're taking a car from me. It's not like they're taking a bunch of jewelry or something like that. I don't travel with any jewelry. I don't actually have any jewelry. So there's nothing like that that can be taken from me, and it's really freeing. It's like, okay, I mean, I don't want to ever be in that situation, but if something happens, I'll gladly give over what I have, but typically I don't have a whole lot, and that may frustrate some would-be attacker, but I like to think if I use my street smarts and cooperate, that I'll have the least suboptimal outcome in that situation. But anyway, thank you for watching this video. I've talked about how I think minimalism goes hand in hand with long-term travel. If this video has been helpful for you, definitely give us a thumbs up. Helps with the YouTube algorithm. Also, comment down below if you have any other pointers or tips about minimalism and traveling long-term, and the benefits that you've experienced, and maybe some of the downsides. Maybe there's things that I haven't acknowledged or thought about yet that are disadvantages here. And finally, subscribe to our channel if this video has been helpful. You want to see more content like it, and we'll see you next time.